Welcome to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno, and today I'm hosting Josh Wulkan, Vice President of Huggins Scott Auctions. Josh, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me, buddy. I really appreciate that.
No problem, Patrick. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So you can catch Josh on Twitter, link below. Also, he's on LinkedIn, also link below. And then check out Huggins Scott, their website, also link below. So Josh, tell me, how did you hear about Radicards prior to me reaching out to you? If you did, and if so, how did you hear about it?
I didn't until you reached out.
Okay.
That was you reached out, and I started investigating and looking at it, and we went from there.
Awesome. Great. Good stuff. You've been with Huggins and Scott since 2003. Can you talk about how you got your start with the company and the duties associated with your current primary role?
So Huggins and Scott was a sports memorabilia auction company that we started. It was kind of birthed out of House of Cards, which is a baseball card store that opened in 1976 in the Washington, D.C. area, which is where I grew up. As a kid at 13 years old, just like any other kid in the mid-'80s, we'd go to every baseball card store that we could find, and there were lots of them at the time. But House of Cards was sort of the closest one to my house. So it was like a 3-mile bike ride. Me and my buddies after school or on weekends, we'd get on our bikes and head up there and just bought baseball cards because we loved baseball and we collected cards, and that's what you did in the mid-'80s. 35 cents a pack for an 85 Topps pack, and you hope you get Corey Snyder or Dwight Gooden or any of those other guys. And one day I was in there, and the owner of the shop was Bill Huggins, and he said, "Hey, I see you in here all the time. The kid that normally helps me out is out sick, and I need somebody to help. You want a job?" I was like, "I don't know. Can I call my mom?" He's like, "Sure." He gave me this phone and called my mom, and I said, "Mom, can I work in a baseball card store?" And she's like, "Sure, I guess." And the deal was he would pay me in baseball cards. So instead of having to, mow lawns, shovel walkways with snow or whatever to get my money, I could work there and get money to buy cards that would help my hobby. And that started in 1985. And then it just kind of grew from there. And I would work after school and on the weekends and move my way through. And I graduated college, and he offered me the job as manager. And then we kind of started an eBay business in 97, 98 when that kind of got going. And as we evolved from eBay into sort of the major catalog auctions, we decided to try our hand at running actual auctions. We were doing live auctions in the Silver Spring area. We had a live auctioneer, and hundreds of people would come to our room and they'd bid on the items there. And finally we decided, hey, we can get way more people to look at our auctions through a website than through a live room in Silver Spring, Maryland. So we kind of followed in the mold and went that way with it. And that's where we started. And that was our first catalog was actually 2000, in the end of 2002. And I've been doing it, since then, and that's what I do.
That's great. I've known about Huggins and Scott for quite a few years, and I've seen your auctions on eBay, and I followed you a little bit. I don't know if I've actually ever bought from Huggins and Scott. I think it's because the tier was always higher than my income would be able to accommodate. I always liked that, though. You guys had kind of a little bit of everything, which was nice, and like really interesting memorabilia pieces, vintage baseball cards, vintage sports cards. It's really grown into this very interesting auction house website, and it's nice to go on there and see so much that you guys have every auction, and you guys work really hard on that. I know you do.
We do. Thank you. And it's one of our things that we sort of advertise. It's one of the things we promote is that we're sort of one of those major catalog auctions for just about anybody. Whether you want to only spend a few $100s or many, many thousands of dollars on a single item, you can do it in our auction. Similarly, as a consigner, if you're looking to sell something that might only be worth $300, $400, $500, we can do that for you. There are other auction houses, and there are great ones in our industry, guys who are extremely reputable, but they really only deal in, $3,000 to $5,000 plus items. And if you've got something worth $700 or $600 or $400, they're not. It doesn't do it for them. And for us, we kind of decided to take a different approach and say, hey, well, yes, we can sell your item that'll sell for $150,000, and we've done that, but we can also sell your item that'll sell for $400 or $500, and it kind of gives more people a chance to play in the catalog auction game, which I think a lot of people in our industry like to be a part of.
Absolutely, and the competition is abundant in the auction site category. There's a lot of great ones out there, and I've bought from a lot of them, and I know a bunch of them personally. So it's cool to see the kind of community that happens. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when an auction house that deals in primarily higher margin items, like say the 4 and 5 figures and up, and they get something that's 3 figures, is there a relationship that exists between houses where, hey, they'll contact Huggins and Scott, say, hey, this is a lower end item, or you might try Huggins and Scott, they might be able to help you out. Does that exist?
It does. It does. I wouldn't say it's prevalent, because it's kind of taking a client and giving them to somebody else.
Right.
And if as an auction house, if I were to do that, if I got, go the other way with it and say, hey, I've got a $50,000 item, and I was like, oh well, I don't really want to handle that. It's not right for me. So go to these guys. It's not really. It wouldn't go that way. The other way, we have had some auction houses and guys who we know, say, hey, you may be better off selling this through them. Maybe it's a Baltimore area item or a DC area item, and it's only worth $400 or $500, and that's all the guy has. And they go to some Robert Edward Auction, who's a really high end auction company. They do 2 a year, and they do $10 million in their auctions. And somebody shows up with a Baltimore Oriole item for $400, or a Washington D.C. item, a Redskin item, and they're like, gosh, I'd love to take this from you and help you sell it, but it's just not for us. So, hey, these guys are in that area, and maybe they could do it for you. And we have had that happen, yes. Doesn't happen often, but yes, it does happen. It's fun when it does. It's like, hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You guys have a physical catalog that you deliver out to a distribution list?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very good. That's excellent.
This is the one that our auction started this past Monday. It's been going on for a week, and you can see I
love it.
Yeah,
I should get on your distribution list, because I like to have those. They're kind of like nice reference pieces to see, what's out there. Even if I'm not a buyer, just to have it as a reference piece in like my library. So I know that some of the auction houses have real thick, like, book size manuals, and so those are cool to see those. So good stuff.
I'll add you to the list. I'll make sure you get them every
okay. What excites you about the category of sports cards and memorabilia?
It's interesting. I mean, for us and me personally, this industry has evolved and changed over the last 32 years that I've been involved with it. In a big way. I mean, it used to be we would do shows and we would go and try and buy and sell. You buy for half of what you're going to sell it for, or less if you can get away with it. And I don't know, there's something about that industry that is, you're buying low and selling high. And so you're trying to find somebody who doesn't really know what something is worth and buy it from them at a price that you can make a profit on it. It's a little slimy. It's not exactly wonderful if it's great when you get a great deal, but at the same time, there's something about it. As an auction company, we're kind of working with people rather than against them. All we're trying to do is be a middle person. We're trying to match up somebody who has something to sell with somebody who's looking to buy something. You take a Babe Ruth ball, and I've got this family had Ruth sign a ball for their great grandfather in 1927, and they've held it on for all these years, and now it's gotten to the point where the family's like, okay, time to be done with it. Nobody in the family really has that much of an emotional attachment to it. Let's get it to somebody who would really enjoy it. And so what we do is kind of, okay, we'll take that, and then we promote it, advertise it, photograph it, write it, present it out to the people who we know are big fans of this item. And now all of a sudden it's going to go to somebody else. Maybe it goes to a dealer who's going to resell it. Maybe it goes to just somebody who says, gosh, I've always wanted a Babe Ruth single sign baseball, and now here's my chance to buy it. And so in that way, we're working with the consignor to kind of get them the most money. As an auction house, you're only taking a percentage of the sale price. And so the more something sells for, the happier we are, the happier the consignor is. And if the bidder pays for it, we're assuming he's happy because he bought it and paid for it. So instead of sort of going at it of, hey, I'm going to try and, get it for as least amount of money as I can to make the most money on it. Here now we're sort of trying to make everybody happy, which from from an inside your body type feeling, it feels good to make people happy. And I get emails all the time. Every single auction, I get emails from people saying, gosh, I'm so happy with what you guys did for me, and I can't believe how you've changed. We had all this stuff in my father or my husband or whoever was passed away, and it's just been sitting in our garage, and we needed to turn it into money, and you guys came and you took it all and you sold it all, and you got us way more than we expected to get for it, and it was such a blessing for us. Thank you. And that feels good, in a business world, that feels good. And
Absolutely.
so for us, that's kind of what we'd like to do.
Now, with these positive reviews, customer reviews, are you archiving them somewhere to where there's a page of lists of these positive places? Because that's a marketable sales piece right there.
Yeah, I have a testimonials page, and I've got testimonials in my emails that I've saved over the years of people saying exactly those kinds of things. Yeah, we hang on to them and put them out there when we need to, or when they're asked for. If someone says, "Hey, you got any references or anybody I can call to find out if you guys are reputable?" Yes, absolutely, we've got plenty of them. So
I love it.
doing this for as long as we've done. I mean, like I said, Bill's been in business. He's owned a baseball card store since '76. That's going on 41 years now. I've been with him since '85. We do things that way, and so yes, we get lots of people who are pleased with what we do.
I love it. You've been in the hobby for that long. It's just incredible. I
Yeah.
started in '88, so it's been I've probably said this 100 times to my viewers, but it's become, you do something for so long, it becomes like an extension of who you are over the course of time in a way.
Sure.
Because you think about it, I can't explain that in a way, but you start to learn. I've learned a lot about business just by collecting baseball cards. I've learned a lot about the businesses that have come and gone, their marketing strategies, what they've designed, what they've produced, how they've managed their business. And you can see how the industry has changed over decades, and who's still around and who has been acquired, and it's really interesting to watch that. And so to me, I always look at it as more than just card collecting. It's like business analytics in a way, because you get to see all this.
Sure. And '88 was about the time where this really started changing in a very quick way from a hobby to a business. For a lot of people, up until about the early '90s, when the baseball card boom kind of happened, it was more of a hobby. And as '85, '86, '87, '88, as we were kids and doing things, it started getting to the point where we would buy a pack of cards and buy a Beckett baseball card price guide and open up the pack and immediately go to find out how much your 1985 Topps Corey Snyder was worth. Oh, I just bought this pack for 35 cents or 50 cents or 75 cents or whatever it was. And now I've got a price guide that tells me this card is worth $5. Well, that's good business. You spent 75 cents and you get a $5 card. Now, you got to find somebody that'll pay you $5 for it. But in a baseball card store, Bill was buying cards for half book price. So if you bought a pack for 75 cents and a Corey Snyder rookie card was worth $5, he'd pay you $2.50. So all of a sudden, as a kid, you're literally buying low and selling high. Now, not every pack had that $5 card in it. Many didn't. But when you got it and you could flip it, and that's pretty popular today, is this flipping thing. You buy it today, you sell it tomorrow, and if you can profit $20, $50, $100 across the board, and you do it a lot, it becomes a business.
Sure.
And so that sort of mid-'80s time frame, late '80s, is kind of when this sort of whole hobby became more of a business than a hobby.
No, absolutely. That's the prime of the junk wax era, right?
Yeah.
When they left the printing presses on day and night for like an entire year to accommodate demand. But when you see that, instantly that the stuff that they're going to print in that volume isn't going to be worth a lot over the course of time. So I feel like when price guides came out, that was like the beginning of the end for certain things to maintain value over the course, because now people are taking care of their cards because they think they can sell the Corey Snyder rookie cards to send their kids to Oxford,
Right.
It's like, but because there's so much demand for the '85 Topps, well, really the demand started in, say, like '87 leading in. So '87 was the start of the junk wax era, and some people can argue that '86 was that start. But whatever the case is, that when there's so much demand for something, they have to print and accommodate the demand, which drives the individual product unit down value-wise, because instead of just having one or two in nice condition, you have millions in nice condition. And now we have just smaller industry than it was back in the late '80s, early '90s. That there's not enough people to make those. There's so many more cards than there are collectors, so individual cards have come quite a bit down. Now there has been a spike in recent years with some of those junk wax cards in top shape. I've noticed. I don't know if you've seen that. I know like
Yep.
Clemens rookies and Bonds rookies have both gone up in value significantly over the last couple of months even. And so it's interesting to see that. And then, I get that it comes back to like guys that can now afford the stuff that we once wanted when we were kids. We're getting the highest grade we can, And I think the 2017 Hall of Fame class um, maybe signaled the potential for guys getting into the hall at some point down the line, and that's maybe signaled an interest in going out and buying the high end, gem mints and pristines of the Royd era guys. Now, that I can't say that with any degree of certainty. I've just seen a spike happen since the Hall of Fame class inductee from the January run. It's interesting, but that's another conversation, sort of outside of the
Right.
scope of our interview. But good stuff to talk about. Let me ask you, Josh, if you were to give advice to someone just starting an auction site, what would it be?
Just starting an auction site. Well, there's different auction sites to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just starting an eBay site, that's one thing. If you're starting an Amazon site, that's another thing. If you're going to start a catalog auction site, that's something totally different. One can kind of be done by yourself. If you're going to run an eBay auction site, you can do that. You literally could do that by yourself.
Sure.
You can take the pictures, you can do the descriptions, you can do the listings, you can take in the payments, you can package it all up, you can go to the post office, and you can run, and I think Amazon probably would run the same way. And so one person can kind of run that business. If you're trying to do a catalog auction site, you can't do it with one person. You need writers, you need photographers, you need a printer, you need a mailing list. There's a lot of things that go into running a catalog auction site, which is why there are way fewer catalog auction companies than there are eBay sellers or Amazon sellers or
Sure.
people who would consider themselves in this business or in this industry as an eBay seller and exclusively an eBay seller. And we have lots of them on our mailing list and people who come to our shop all the time. And that's what they do for a living is they buy on eBay, they sell on eBay, they go to trade shows, they know people, they buy deals, and then they flip it on eBay. They grade it, and then they sell it on eBay. And people can do it, depending on how big you want to get by yourself. Catalog auction company is a little bit different. So the question kind of needs to be clarified as to what kind of auction site are you asking about? What would you do if you were going to start it?
So catalog auction site, I think I was positioning this more as like if we were not me specifically, but saying this very objectively, if one was to create a catalog auction site, much like what you have, or REA or some of the other bigger giants, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's new to that, say wants to migrate away from an eBay store and wants to create an auction house, catalog auction house? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say the most important thing is have a real strong customer service base.
Okay.
On eBay, you can kind of hide behind your eBay.
Mm.
You could be customer friendly or whatever, but you don't really need to interact. In a catalog auction site, you kind of need to interact with people. And customer service goes a long way. It's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. I pride myself on it. I answer every single email that comes to our company that's directed into a general mailbox or not directed at a particular person in our company. And I answer everyone. It may be because I'm dealing with my kids. Sometimes it's not within 6 hours, but, within an hour during a day or, 20 minutes, I'm right back to somebody. And I think that's important. I think people like to be able to know that if the thing about eBay and one of the criticisms of eBay is you're buying something on eBay and you're giving your money to somebody, you have no idea who they are. You don't really know where they are. You don't know what they look like. You don't know if they have a phone number. You don't know if they're going to scam you. There's tons of eBay scams, right? I mean, it exists. With a catalog auction company, you have a physical location. You are advertising that physical location. You have a phone number. You have ways for people to contact you. You have consigners who need to contact you. You have buyers who need to contact you. You have people who want to come view what it is that you're auctioning firsthand. Because yes, you can have the greatest grader in the world for your 56 Topps baseball set, and I can call something, across the board VGX to X Mint. But if somebody actually wants to hold the 56 Topps Mantle in their hand before they buy it, they want to be able to do that. Sure. And so the fact that you have on eBay, you can't do that. I could look at a 56 Topps Mantle listed on eBay, and if it's raw, I can get the best I can with the scans that they provide. I don't know whether it's been photoshopped. I don't know, if it's a little blurry, if it's a little off this way. You can't tell. If there's a hidden crease, you're not going to see that through a scan on eBay. With us, we're looking at it. We do our best to give, the accurate grade, but we also say, hey, come to our office and review it firsthand. If you're going to spend thousands of dollars on something, or tens of thousands, or even more than that, by all means, come and look at it first. And we do tons of trade shows around the country, virtually every weekend, almost every weekend. And we bring things and people say, hey, I'm going to be at the Chicago show this weekend. Can you bring this lot so I can review it? Absolutely. Within reason, obviously. And so we do that, and people can do that. We have literally dozens of people that fly into our offices before every auction and will sit in our offices for a full day or 2 full days and review, hey, I want to look at these 79 lots because I want to see what the cards look like. And they do. And so, the personal touch and the I would say the customer service ability for people to like who it is that they're buying from really lends to a better experience for both the buyer and the seller.
Absolutely. I think that your customer experience, customer service is the peak, is the most important thing in I think every business transaction, making sure that the customer is happy, satisfied, and doing your best to deliver a product that can allow that interaction to take place, I think is the marrying couple, right? Having a solution to a market need, in this case, something someone's looking for, you have it in good condition, the shape they want, and then delivering it on time, well packaged, answering all the questions they might have, allowing them to see it if they want to. I mean, those are really big, important pieces to the transaction, right? And so I think that's absolutely great advice. Definitely something that you would think would be innate to a lot of people, but as you and I know, we were talking about online. Sometimes, to your point, you don't know who's on the other end, and it can be, you have to kind of just go with chance and hope that it's going to work out. And I've been on eBay for a lot of years, and I've had 99.9% of my transactions have been successful, right? Every now and then, based on statistics, it's a guarantee you're going to come across 1 or 2 interactions over the course of thousands that won't be successful, that won't be desirable. But that's just an expectation you have to accept. At least for me, I've just accepted that's just part of doing business. Every now and then you're going to come across a customer who's not happy, or you're going to come across a seller who's not going to ship your item, or you're going to come across some instance that's going to have to be acknowledged in some way. And I'm sure as managing an auction house yourself, or being a vice president of one, would it be inaccurate to us to say that you have at one point or another come across a customer that was unhappy with something?
Oh, every auction, I have customers who are unhappy about something, whether it's because FedEx dropped the framed piece that we packaged it up as best we possibly can, and we give it to FedEx, and they get it across the country, and it falls off a truck. Mm-hmm. It falls off a conveyor belt. It hits a corner. It smashes the piece. It happens. Sometimes it's out of our control. Hey, there are times when our writers miss something. We're human beings, so mistakes happen.
Sure.
It's how you deal with those mistakes and whether you learn from them. That's what I tell my kids. That is important. Hey, here's a mistake that was made. Let's acknowledge it. Let's rectify it. Let's fix it, and let's not make it again. And so, as a company, that's sort of what we pride ourselves on. Is I can't control if FedEx is going to drop a frame piece.
Right.
If we send a card and we package it well and we put it in between cardboard and we put it in a box and we put peanuts around it and bubble wrap around it, and somehow, some way, that thing goes through some kind of event that destroys it, what am I going to do about it?
Well, other than you've done your part at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize to the guy. We file a claim with FedEx. We offer a refund. we do anything we can to sort of rectify the situation. But yeah, I mean, you can't make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
Right.
That's business. You're never going to do it.
Right.
And so how you handle those, and that's all going back to this customer service thing I was talking about, which is how do you handle somebody who calls you or emails you with a complaint about something? You could ask any auction house in the industry, do they have problems, with certain guys or with certain items or with certain things? Yes, absolutely. And then how they handle it is, how you're going to sort of shape your future as an auction company. If you tell the guy, sorry, dude, go pound sand, there's nothing I'm going to do for you.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get that, the guy who's going to go troll you on the internet and say, hey, this is the story that happened and this is what they told me and that was awful. And they'll get interaction of people saying, oh God, I'll never deal with those people again. How could they do that? So while we do our best to not have issues that arise, they're going to. How do we deal with them? How do we, and look, do I bend over backwards for every single case? No, because sometimes it's not our fault. I had a guy in our last auction, he bought a jersey from us. And we wrote in the description exactly what the jersey was and that the patch had been replaced and this and that. And he got it, and he just didn't read the description.
Yeah.
He said, hey, I got the jersey, and the patch has been replaced. Yes, we noted that in the description. Here's the description that we wrote about before you bought it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I didn't read that. I'm like, okay. What do you want me to do about it? And he's like, well, I really don't want it because I didn't want it with a patch replaced. So, one thing leads to another. We have conversations, and we made each other happy, and it worked out. But the fact is, not everything is our fault, but sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And how you deal with those situations is what goes a long way into kind of creating a successful company, auction house, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And that's important, as managing the unhappy customers is just as important as managing the happy ones. Maybe, some might argue maybe more important, because the unhappy ones require a little bit more maintenance, and it's how you maintain that relationship. Okay, they're unhappy. What can we do to make them happy, to make sense to both them and us, right? What does that look like? And figuring that out, trying to get there, is strategically important in so many ways. And like you said, if you make one customer unhappy and you throw your hands up and say, sorry, it's not our fault, good luck, take care, that can create a lot of headaches for bad PR online, bad reputation. That can compromise the integrity of your long-term customer loyalty with even your happy customers, because that stuff circles around. People talk, and you want people to talk, fondly about your company. And the only way to do that is to do what you can to make the unhappy customers happy and figure out what that looks like. And that's certainly important.
And in particular in this industry, because really this industry is very small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thinking bigger picture, I mean, this baseball cards and sports memorabilia it's a big dollar business, but really most people know each other. A lot of people, the major players all know each other. They've all been doing it for a fair amount of time. It's a relatively small industry, and if it gets around that, hey, these guys are jerks, or they're, not accommodating to this situation or that situation, it's just not, it's not worth it. People talk. And so it's not like I would say, the real estate industry is not a very small industry. There are a lot of people who sell real estate. There's a lot of people involved in it. And so if one guy is like not the greatest, customer service person in real estate, there's lots of options and people can go and you may never hear about it. So our industry is kind of niche and small in that regard. And so, yeah, I mean, it's yes. And I think, as you said, and you said it best, is can you make can you keep it fair to both parties? And as long as the person you're working with has the same idea that, hey, let's make it fair. I don't need to be 100% covered, and you shouldn't be 100% covered. Let's find some common middle ground, because yes, I didn't read the description properly, or I didn't read your auction rules, but you didn't give me all the information in a clear enough way for me to understand it. So let's come to some middle ground where everybody's happy. And, honestly, Patrick, that's my goal 100% of the time when I'm dealing with people with problems is let's find something, do I bend over backwards every time? No, but, do I have to? No. So let's find that middle ground to make everybody happy. And, keep our customers coming back.
This is good stuff. This is a good conversation to have. I have to ask you one more on the customer service piece of it.
Sure.
Has there ever been an instance, much like on eBay, where you block a buyer from ever bidding on your auctions again?
Yes.
You have done that?
Many times.
And
people who don't pay.
People that don't pay?
Almost exclusively people who don't pay. I don't know that I've blocked somebody who paid without an issue.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no reason for me to do that. If you buy something and you pay us and you get it, and
right,
you may not be happy with it, but you don't come back to me and say, "Hey, or people who do come back to me and say, "Hey, I wasn't really thrilled with this." I try and make it right,
mm-hmm.
And there have been times where I said, "Hey, there's not much I can do for you in this situation. I may be able to help you out with the next situation. I've helped you out with previous situations. In this particular case, we did nothing wrong. This does, I can't justify how it's fair for me to lose out in this situation. If you can tell me that I should pay for your mistake in this case, mm-hmm. Tell me that and let's have that conversation." Most people can't do that. If they're 100% wrong and they realize that they're 100% wrong, they're not usually going to ask you to pay for it. But as far as banning people and asking them to, blocking people from bidding, it is 99.9% of the time they don't pay for an item.
I mean, I'm trying to think of an instance where blocking a buyer because of their behavior would make sense, or should I just leave it unblocked and allow them to, now that they know the situation in the future, the probability of a negative instance will be significantly diminished because they now know how the process works.
And look, the reality is, Patrick, that we can give somebody, free shipping on their next order. And how much is shipping really? $35, $20, $40. We're doing, $2 million auctions 4 times a year. And, if it makes somebody happy for me to say, "Hey, I'm really sorry that happened. I'm really sorry you were unhappy that it didn't read the right way," I can give you free shipping on your next order, but that's about all I can do. Mm-hmm. Say he bought a $500 item and he pays us $600 with the buyer's premium and shipping and everything else, and we get and that transaction or the what transpired is sort of how you said it. I mean, if I give somebody a $40 shipping credit and that makes them feel better, mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Usually that will dissolve them from going on to chat rooms and start blasting us for doing nothing for them. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a nice thing. That's a great thing to do, is offer some kind of a complimentary incentive. Say, "Hey, listen, I want to make this right. What can we do to fix that?" This is a good conversation. I won't harp on it, and I'm glad we touched on it a little bit, because our business is customer service orientation, right? It's delivering happiness to a customer. Tony Shai of Zappos wrote a whole book on this whole thing. So good stuff, man. We'll just keep it going here.
Okay.
When you think about your career in the industry, what are 1 or 2 significant events that made an impact on you both personally and professionally?
I would say starting the online auction company, moving from eBay to this, it was a gradual move because we were doing live auctions. And so it was sort of a relatively smooth transition from selling on eBay. And look, House of Cards is a huge power seller on eBay. They've got several 100,000 positive, reviews. And before we started the auction company, I was exclusively running the eBay part of our site. When we opened the catalog auction company, I kind of moved away from selling on eBay and helping those guys with that to just sort of taking on this company and doing all of the things that go along with the catalog auction company that I could possibly do. Our offices are in Silver Spring. I'm in California. So when I moved here 11 years ago, it was what is it that I can do without physically handling the memorabilia that shows up, which is what I used to do. And now we've got writers and photographers and lotters and all people who do stuff, and shippers and people who do that. So I do mailing lists and photo work and text work and editing and layout and, LOAs and advertising and marketing and all the things that I can kind of do from sitting behind a computer without literally physically handling a box that comes in, breaking down the collection into how we're going to lot it, communicating with the consignor that, hey, these cards look like this, and this is why we're going to lot them this way, and we're going to open them at this, and that sort of stuff that you have to do with hands-on stuff. But I would say probably moving to this catalog auction company when we did so in '02 and '03 was kind of the big move for us to kind of change a direction and add something different to what we were doing before, which was a good retail operation in the Silver Spring, Maryland area, and kind of infiltrating eBay as best we can to sort of increase our sales through the online marketplace, which at that time was really just getting going, and it's evolved in 20 years since then, beyond anyone's, I'm sure, wildest imagination.
Yeah, that's a lot of growth in that amount of time, and it sounds to me like you've got your hands in a bunch of different parts of the business without even actually handling the physical merchandise, which is certainly efficient. What would you say in the various pieces of the pie that you're working on that you feel like you get the most out of in terms of your knowledge base? I know that you do a lot of marketing. Is there a certain area of the category where you're like, I know that area so well, whether it be the business piece of it or the hobby piece of it?
I think both. I mean, when you've done something for 30 plus years, and other than a brief 4-year stint where I went to go work for the Baltimore Orioles and ran their catalog department, my job as a 13-year-old kid was selling baseball cards and doing trade shows and learning how to buy low and sell high and learning what was valuable and what wasn't, and how to grade a card and how to look at a collection and come up with a value for it. So learning that at a young age, and then sort of developing that through the 80s and the 90s and the mid 90s and the McGuire Sosa race and all of that, where literally we could write the words Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa on a napkin and put it in our showcase and put a $5 sticker on it, and somebody would buy it because they wanted anything that had to do with McGuire and Sosa in 1998. That's just the way it was.
I remember.
And then beyond that into sort of how it's morphed and evolved through from more face-to-face stuff of the retail operation to now way more not face-to-face stuff and more eBay and the catalog auction, but yet we still do shows and we still get the face-to-face. People walk up to our booth and say, "Oh, I'm so and so," and as somebody who deals with consigners and buyers and invoicing and people who email me and say, "Thank you so much, I've been looking for this forever," to people who have a concern or a question about an item, and I deal with a lot of email back and forth with people. You get them, they come up to your booth and they say, "Hey, I'm so and so," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember this, that, or the other thing," and they're like, "Wow, you remember that?" "Yeah, I do." So just a little bit of everything, both the hobby and the business side of things, kind of is fun and exciting and keeps me interested every single day. The one thing, and we've been saying this since 1985, that every single day in this industry is different.
Mm-hmm.
You rarely you're going to see the exact same thing on back-to-back days. We get boxes sent into our offices every single day with consignments, and some are good and some are not as good. And until you open that box and get into it to figure out exactly what's there, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Is there a Ruth ball? We just had a collection sent to us. This was maybe 3 months ago. It was for this auction, and we opened the box. The guys opened the box, and there was a bunch of 80s and 90s little mini sets and update sets, and the sort of the junk wax period of things. And as we unpacked it, and then there were some signed cards and some other things that were of interest, but not ton. We get to the bottom, and on the bottom were like 15 graded T206 Hall of Famers as 5s.
Wow.
They were just included. The guy, like, "Here, I'm going to send you my whole collection." And we said, okay. And he must have talked to somebody at some point, probably Bill. And Bill said, "Sure, box it up, send it to us, and we'll take care of it. Once it gets here, we'll break it down, and we'll give you an idea of what it's all worth." The guy just started going through his stuff, and he started putting boxes together. And as we open it, you don't normally you get a collection of vintage stuff, and that's that's there. And then you get the newer stuff, and you're like, all right, well, we'll have to figure out how to sell that. It was just sort of mixed in together with everything else that was in there, it was great. That's one of the neat things about our industry is you never know what you're going to get.
That's 2 points. I really like that piece that every day is different. That's something else that draws me to the hobby. Every day when I'm surfing, internet for something I'm looking for, I'm coming across serendipitously a bunch of stuff that I've never seen or I've seen a lot of times in different ways. I like the variety. It's not the same every day. And even me, I sell stuff online too, and so again, everything's different every day. I like that. The other piece of that is that this question is how do you keep an archive of previously sold end prices to benchmark with so you can consult with a new collection and give someone an appraisal, or are you using a service like VCP and other services to get those prices and say, hey, your collection's worth this amount of money per line item?
Yeah, all of the above.
Okay.
Our site has a search auction history link that you can go back all the way to 06, which is when we changed our data servers over, and you can see anything that we've sold. If you have the title or the lot number or a description, some part of a description, you can go back in time and see what everything sold for in our auction. Mm-hmm. And so we use that a lot, but we also use VCP because they hit on eBay and some of the other auction houses. And so you get trends of, the 52 tops Mantle as a 3, for example, as a, what we've sold several of those over the years. And back in 08, it sold for X, and in 10, it sold for Y, and in 13, it sold for Z. And now we have another one. And so what's it worth today? Well, that's a card that has moved so much in the last, 2 years or a year, really, that VCP is probably a better way to give somebody an estimate on what that thing would go for, because there have been several that have sold eBay and many other auction sites around the country that have sold that card. And so if our last one, and I don't know for sure, but if our last one was 2010, that may not give you an accurate assessment of what it's going to sell for today.
I got you.
So, but as far as, researching somebody's collection and coming up with what it's worth today or what it might sell for, it's everything from using eBay sales to VCP, to our own site, to other auction sites. There's a great auction database called Price Realized, and if you've never used it, they're terrific. They kind of get XML feeds from a bunch of auction houses, and it we use that a lot because that's actual auction prices. They don't take in eBay, but they use kind of the major players in the auction world, catalog auction world, to figure out what things have sold for in the past, and it goes all the way back too. And we use them too. So, and any other research tool that we can find, what something might sell for.
I like that. Thanks for the tip on that one. I like to learn about some of the new or whatever software exists for me to entertain myself when I'm, coming across something. That's a nice piece. Yeah, eBay end prices have been a big reference for guys looking to see, hey, what's this worth? I grew up looking at Beckett, and I loved it. I used to carry it with me wherever I went. I slept next to it. I remember sleeping under the Christmas tree in 1992 with my Beckett, and it was the one with Nolan Ryan, and he's dressed in cowboy attire. Do you remember that one? And sure. I had that one, and I was reading it, and I was just obsessed with. I mean, there are a lot of Becketts in my memory from that I grew up reading and loving. And all the different up and down arrows for the minutia price changes from like 15 cents to 20 cents, And so, but nowadays, price can be found more accurately from some of the software tools that we had discussed, eBay, completed solds, VCP, your own tool that you have on your website, this new one you referenced, and so there's so many different tools to get to where you can figure out actual market value instead of perceived market value, right?
Sure, and the digital age has obviously taken over that. It used to be the Beckett's would only come out once a month,
right?
So your card was worth what it was worth for an entire month,
right?
And come baseball season, and if you think about early to mid '90s, and you had a guy like, I don't know, Eric Davis, for example, who, great ball player, tons of stats. And his rookie card would, in the baseball Beckett, might come, the June baseball Beckett would come out whenever it came out. And so his rookie card might list for $1.50. Well, all of a sudden in June, Eric Davis hits 380 with 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, and steals 9 bases. Well, now all of a sudden by the end of the month, everybody wants his card. If you get guys who are just going by the Beckett price guide of $1.50, they would all get bought up at $1.50. So the store owners would sort of have to kind of alter their prices and say, well, yes, I'm selling it over Beckett because that's what they're selling for. And then the next month, Beckett would come out, and the first thing you would do is go to 85 Topps Eric Davis. What did that card go to based on this ridiculous baseball statistical month that he had? Well, all of a sudden, that card went from $1.50 to $6.
Right.
You know, and you may have bought it for $2.50. You paid $1 over Beckett, but now you still have paid $3.50 under the new Beckett price, $6. So perceived value, right? Goodbye. So there was a lot. It was going on in a much slower development because prices were only coming out once a month. But you know, on a Saturday, you could, you know, on Friday night, a guy could throw a no hitter. You'd go into the baseball card store the next day and you'd buy his card for, you know, less than it would come out the next month in Beckett. Perceived value, right?
Totally. Now it's so real time that
real time
you can see. I remember. Do you remember in 2012 when, what was it? Phil Humber, he did that no hitter, and his rookie card went from basically quarter boxes to being like the hottest thing on the planet.
Sure.
And that was like the biggest thing. And I remember learning about that on Twitter and immediately going to eBay and seeing what was available and buying the first one-of-one rookie auto I could find for cheap. And then the next day, everything was being listed for huge price points. And I remember just like being so shocked at how fast the digital age can impact sale prices on collectibles, how quickly that can happen. And that's of significant value both to buyers and sellers, right?
And that's not going anywhere. Like,
No.
it's only gonna get faster.
Totally.
Like that was one day, like you threw a no hitter. Now you can go, you know, some guy, Anthony Rendon's a great example. He went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs yesterday. If you went on eBay and you were looking at Anthony Rendon rookie cards before yesterday's game, and then halfway through yesterday's game when he had 2 home runs and 9 RBIs, all of a sudden they started trading for more money.
But
now 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. It's I mean, because people literally would, Anthony Rendon has 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. I'm going to put his rookie card up on eBay with a buy it now. Yeah, I couldn't have gotten $8 for it 20 minutes ago, but now I've got people who want this thing for $25 or $30.
I think
right?
this is a really interesting conversation because, you know, I look at some of these guys who pop, right? And I will call it popping because that's generally what happens. They can't. I mean, is this guy going to continue on for a year performing at this pace? There are a lot of instances like this where, I mean, how many people are buying Phil Humber rookie cards now? Zero. But at that time, that moment, those prices blew up, and then it just softened. I mean, I look back at Josh Willingham hit, I think it was 2 grand slams in a single game, and his rookie card popped. But nobody's buying Josh Willingham cards anymore. That's over. You know, is it beneficial to buy stuff immediately when you see a performance increase, or is it better to see guys perform steadily over the course of time and have a Hall of Fame career? You know, ergo Tony Gwynn or Cal Ripken over the course of time. The workhorse Cal Ripken was Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas. Some of the guys that just steadily performed over the course of time. They had highlights left and right all day long, but they weren't, I would guess you say, I don't want to say one-hit wonders, but there are a lot of one-hit wonders, you know,
Sure.
literally speaking, in baseball, and you kind of have to watch. It's like stocks, right? It's like you watch a stock, and if it performs, you immediately say, okay, I'm going to sell everything I have in that because it's doing really well right now. And to move out stock, you have to constantly be on the forefront of who's doing what. That's why, and I don't know if you have this in the office or if you keep track, in the background, you listen to baseball live, MLB.com or whatever, to hear who's performing how, so that if you have something of that player, you can see that as an income producing opportunity.
Right. Well, it depends on what you want to do with your purchase, right? I mean, what's your goal? Is your goal to be a flipper? Is your goal to buy Anthony Rendon when he's only got 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. Buy it now, and then he hits 2 more home runs, and all of a sudden he's the first guy since Mark Whitten to hit 4 home runs in a game. I think it may have been Mark Whitten. I can't remember who the last guy to hit 4 home runs in a game was. But is he now all of a sudden that guy? And now, so you bought him when he had 2 home runs in a game. An hour later, he's got 4 home runs in a game, and now all of a sudden you bought it for 8, and now you can sell it for 20.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your goal? It depends. Or are you looking for that long term? Hey, I think Anthony Rendon is going to go on to a great Hall of Fame career, and he's going to, and so I'm buying him now, right at the start of this great run that he's going to go on, and he's going to hit 35, 40 home runs and break records, and and continue this great long stretch of a career. Who knows? I mean, your analogy to stocks is, are you buying Apple, or are you buying, this fly by night that, it takes a huge hit and you bought it low and you sell it high and then you're out of it?
Right.
Or is it something you're just hanging on to because, I just know Apple is going to perform. They're just going to. So that's your Hall of Fame career, right? Is Apple is your Hall of Fame career. And I don't have a good analogy for a stock that's a fly by night, like bump up real big and then drop down a little bit. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's, sort of, and look, there's a very large gap, I think, between the people who are doing that, who are listening to MLB.com and they're buying guys right now because, this guy just got called up from the minor leagues. I'm out here in San Francisco, and so Christian Arroyo is a 21-year-old kid for the Giants, and he's getting a ton of player on here. He's got 2 big home runs that have kind of kept the Giants in games and won a game for them. And so people are sort of all over this 21-year-old third baseman. Are you buying him now because you think, hey, this kid at 21 is going to have a really long, great career, and he's going to end up being a Hall of Famer? So, I bought his rookie card in 2 days after he got called up, and I'm just going to sit on it for years. Or are you trying to flip it quickly and say, hey, he's going to have a great month, he's going to win Rookie of the Month, and I can sell it for 3 times what I bought it for today? And there's a different group of people, I think. There's the investors who are, hey, I'm going to buy Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Jackie Robinson, Ted Williams. I'm going to buy those cards, and they're going to consistently be worth money. And if I can get a good deal on one, then that's the one I want to buy, and I'll just sit on it and hang on to it. Or are you just sort of this new card, shiny card guy who's looking to buy, you're getting into box breaks and case breaks and, the razzing and all this sort of new sort of features that are part of our industry of, hey, I'm going to buy into this box break for $20 or whatever, and I'm going to pick the Baltimore Orioles and hope that I get this huge Manny Machado card.
Right. Or
I'm going to, I'm going after I'm trying to think of a surefire, I'm going to get the Red Sox because I want Hanley Ramirez,
right.
or whoever it is that you think long-term is going to have sustained value in their baseball cards. And so do you go that way or, and like I said, there are the people who only buy autographs. There are people who only buy vintage cards. There are people who only buy new cards. There's people who really like these one-of-one jersey auto rookie patch cards, and that's what they want because it's the best of that player's card. And I think it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, that's two different things to talk about here. Is that Mickey Mantle will never hit another home run, right?
Nope.
Lou Brock will never steal another base. But their legacies are already firmly and permanently woven into the hobby. Like they're forever. And so you buy one, and the only direction it could go is up, right? Over the course of time, because stuff ends up in permanent collections. People see it as, they have already proved themselves. They're already in the Hall of Fame years and years ago. Guys that have more money can see this as an opportunity to buy more. And the older it gets, the more expensive it becomes, just by design. And then there's the new group that says, well, I'm going to put my money towards something that I hope to be a Mickey Mantle at some point. And like to your point, either flip it now or sit on it and see where it goes. And there's a lot of pieces to this conversation, and we won't beat it to death here, but Mickey Mantle has one rookie card, a 51 Bowman, right? Whereas Albert Pujols has 52 different rookie cards, and so
Right.
there's a lot of variety in today's market, and picking out which rookie card is going to be the one. The saturation is another piece of the conversation. I had this conversation recently that base cards are becoming less significant because you can get the base card chrome auto blue refractor, you know, and so it makes now choice becomes a thing. Like how choice is important, but too many options can be crippling in a way because now it's like choice turns into paralysis. I can't pick, and
Right.
too much choice is I think it can be a problem for a market. Not saying it's a problem now, but when I go to buy a modern rookie, sometimes I'm like, there's too many options. I'm out. I'm gonna go and stick to my decade,
Something
my
else.
90s or 80s. Now I know what rookie cards are available, and they're also obtainable. And so with the one of ones and the plates and things and the autoed plates, it can become for the completist mindset an impossible task.
Well, and what the card companies effectively have done is they've taken the supply option off the table by numbering these rookie cards, right? So with a Mantle rookie, you don't have the number of how many exist in the world. There is no number. Nobody knows because they could be sitting in closets somewhere. They could be sitting in a storage unit that some guy collected back in the 50s.
Or
So
sitting
there
in the
is no
ocean.
in the ocean, sure, in the ocean, right? So the what I mean, obviously you talk about the Mantle. Mickey's not going to hit any more home runs,
Right.
but what's going to determine his value going forward is the supply and the demand.
Right.
At some point, is the demand for Mickey Mantle rookie cards going to go away because at some point the people who are interested in buying it will have never seen him play?
Well, well, okay.
I don't know.
This is the thing that parents or adults are super fans of the Yankees, right? There's just this dynasty, these super ultra fans of the Yankees. They will only love that team forever. Um, they will talk about the Yankees to their kids, and their kids will grow up loving the Yankees. And in those conversations, they'll bring up guys like Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and Roger Maris and Babe Ruth, Thurman Munson and Don Mattingly and Derek Jeter, and they'll talk about all these key players. And so the kids will grow up knowing who the heads of state are for the New York Yankees, and they will eventually want to get, say, a Mantle. So I'm not sure if the man will ever go down for a Mickey Mantle card, 51, 52 through his late 60s stuff. And this is, like I said, maybe another conversation, but certainly something to think about, and how much notoriety he gets online and in print, and he's covered in blogs constantly. It's going to be hard to think about who would not know of Mickey Mantle down the line, especially growing up in a circle of guys that are baseball fans, right?
Right.
Anyway.
Well, he has always been the king of this hobby.
Yes.
For the last 35 years, Mickey Mantle is the king. Somebody contacts us and says, I have a collection of cards from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The first question, how many Mickey Mantles you got?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, because, oh no, I have no Mickey Mantles. All right, well, now we know what we're dealing with. Now we know we're not at the top of the collection food chain because there are no Mantles.
Right.
And you would think, I mean, maybe it was Babe Ruth, but maybe it was Ty Cobb, but the answer is this hobby is always sort of the king is Mantle.
He's a big one.
If you got Mantle, then the collection has at least some value.
Right. Kind of leads me to
the cards from the 50s and 60s, or 70s, 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever it is. You get into, I've got Willie Mays and I have Hank Aaron and I have, Sandy Koufax, or I've got Tom Seaver, Steve Carlton, Nolan Ryan. You get into their 70s cards, they really don't have all that much value. In a 73 Mays card, even if it's obviously a 9 or a 10, it's a different story, right? But the reality is that in these sort of VG collectible grade cards, a 73 Aaron or a 74 Aaron or a 75, Nolan Ryan that's kind of VGX doesn't really, that's not the pop that the collection needs in order to sell it today. Whereas, yeah, I've got cards from 65 to 75. Okay. Of those between 65 and 69, how many Mantles you got?
Yeah.
Are there 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Oh, no, I've got Mantles from every single year in there. Great. Now we've got enough for a lot. We know that it will sell, and there's some decent value there.
That kind of leads me to my next question is, do you collect sports cards? And if so, what do you like?
I do not collect sports cards anymore. I collected for a long time as a kid. And then really once we started Huggins and Scott, I sold all the stuff that I had collected as a kid. I collected all the wrong stuff as a kid. Everything that you could have collected. I collected the wrong guys. I collected Kevin Seitzer because I liked him. I collected Bo Jackson because I liked him. I collected Eric Davis and Corey Snyder, and I mean those were guys I liked them as baseball players at the time, and that's what I collected. I remember trading a Mark McGwire rookie for a Kevin Seitzer rookie because I liked Kevin Seitzer way more than Mark McGwire. Probably not the greatest move. So and look, had I had some forethought, I probably would have collected Mickey Mantle. In the 80s, you could buy Mickey Mantles relatively inexpensively. $15-20 for a 68 Mantle wasn't out of the question for a mid-grade 68 Mantle that, I had that. I could have done that. But no, I wanted to buy, I spent my $25 or $35 on a box of 86 Topps cards because they had the gum and they were fun to open, and you never knew if you got an error card or something else that was fun to open and trade and play with. But I wish I had bought, Mantles and Ruths and Cobbs and things that were, that are now more valuable than they were then. But I didn't. And so, no is the answer to the question. I don't really collect much anymore. Just paychecks to pay the rent and food for my kids.
Sure. Hindsight's always 20/20 with the collecting stuff, right?
It's actually better than 20/20. Like 2010 is like better vision than 20/20. Right? 20/20 is pretty clear. 2010, if you have 2010 vision, like you can see kind of through things and stuff. Everybody says hindsight's 20/20. It's actually better than that because you can look back and it's like it's better than 20/20 vision.
I will say this though, high grade, PSA 10 copies of some of the 86 Topps baseball, they do pretty well. The Pete Rose is especially a high performer. So good stuff, man. One more question, if you don't mind. I appreciate
Sure.
the time you spent with me. I know we've kind of gone a little over, and I hate to take away extra time on accident.
It's okay.
Can you share some things you're working on presently and what we can see from you on the horizon?
So we are currently working on our August auction, which every year the August auction is what we call our event of the year. As we collect consignments from people throughout the year for the next auction. So we've been collecting things for the May auction, which we just produced, and that's going on now. Really premier pieces, if the consignor is okay with it, we'll hold it for the August auction. The August auction is centered around the National Convention, which is in Chicago, Illinois this year. And we have a huge 20 by 30 foot booth that we bring all of our major pieces for the August auction and put a really nice display together. The catalog is live. The auction is live. We accept bids at our booth. And so what we're working on now for our horizon is the August auction, and making it the best auction that we can of the year. It's always the best auction for us of the year because really people come out of the woodworks and really take the stuff that they've been thinking about selling, and they know they can get maximum exposure for it by putting it, in front of a hugely attended show, the National Convention. People come from literally all over the world to that. I got a very good bit that comes from Hong Kong, comes in every year for the National Convention, walks around, looks at the auction items, bids. And so, yes, we've got that's our horizon right now is the August auction. Most of all of our efforts are focused on kind of putting that together in the best way we can and kind of procuring some of the best items that we can for that auction.
I love it. The National is the greatest show I've ever been to. It's fantastic.
Yeah, actually, I think one day we sat down and we did a mathematical analysis that you actually can't stop for 30 seconds at every booth and see every table at the National. If you were able to be there from open to close every day and you spent 30 seconds at every booth, stopping by every booth, you wouldn't see every table there.
So in 2015, my buddy Dan and I went and we serpentined from the beginning of the beginning of our experience from the night of Wednesday, the sneak peek, to Sunday at 6, and we didn't stop by every booth. And by the end of day 6 or Sunday, we finished what we wanted to see. But to your point, we were never gonna be able to see everything at the show. It's just not enough time.
No.
You know, and I'm a big bargain box digger, so like I was looking for those opportunities, and so I specifically knew what I wanted to see. And when I'd pass by a booth that didn't have anything that looked like they might have something, I just kept walking. But yes, it would be nearly impossible, or impossible to have any sort of pleasurable buying experience every single booth. It's a lot. Thanks Josh for taking the time to sit down with me. I really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
No, just keep on doing what you're doing and what I'm doing, and it's a hobby. It's a life choice that we make of staying in this and doing this, and I love it. I still love it. I still enjoy waking up in the morning and coming down to go to work and dealing with people and dealing with our stuff, and that's. My father told me when I was growing up, he said, make sure whatever you choose to do in your life as a job that you're happy with it. If you're not happy with it, get out of it. And I've been doing this, like I said, since '85, and I'm still happy with it. So it's it's enjoyable and it's fun. And I've made a career out of a hobby, which I don't think everybody can say.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. Good stuff, man. Thank you, Josh. Again, if you're viewing this, you can catch up with Josh on Twitter, link below, on LinkedIn, also link below, and then check out hugginsandscott.com, their website. Take a look at their auctions, really great stuff there, link below. Thank you for watching another episode of Radicards TV on radicards.com. Thank you, Josh Wulkan, for this opportunity for me to interview you. And until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this video, please subscribe. Enjoy collecting. Thank you.